Hello, this is Friar Tim with the State of Newman report for 2022. First of all, before beginning my little report, just a word of appreciation to Therese Taxis for putting together the annual report and for Amy Laurenti for all of her creative genius in making just such a splendid product for us. Now, as promised, let me walk you through a little bit more of my reflections on the state of the parish. We'll start with the pastoral and then move on to the material. The pastoral, I think the state of the parish is generally good. Weekend mass attendance is slowly growing. We are now at about 600 people on a weekend. That's about 60 to 65% of our pre-pandemic average. We had been in the 50 to 55%. We continue to live stream one weekend mass, which has about 30 live participants, but within a week reaches up to about 100 people that have clicked us, although we're really not sure. Did they click us by accident? Did they just come in to hear the opening song or the homily or whatever? Our continuing faith efforts, we're getting smaller attendance at in-person events. I suspect a lot of this has to do with many of our parishioners being unwilling to drive in the dark. Daytime events get more difficult because of the parking issues here. Because of that, we're going to be exploring more video opportunities and also audio opportunities to see if when I video myself for something, this can also be turned into a podcast. On Monday, you will be getting together actually with this telecom that this is in, now that I'm thinking of it, there's a poll where we'll be asking what you want for Lent, if anything. Because again, we've put some effort into putting Lenten programs together that have been rather sparsely attended. In the area of service and justice, we're moving and growing towards monthly opportunities for service and justice activities. And our partnerships with Durham Community Food Pantry, Habitat for Humanity, and Orange County Justice United are moving apace. We just put on a successful Fall Service Day together with the food drive for Durham Community Food Pantry. One of the areas that I've asked the Parish Council to be more interested and involved in this year is community building. We hosted a successful parish picnic back in September with about 150 participants in outside mass and then a grill. We've now started a monthly hospitality, which after all the masses on Sundays, there's the opportunity for people to get together and just interact. That seems to be growing steadily with each passing month. The Newman Connect Community Committee is working on connecting members of the permanent community and the student community more effectively through a number of different activities. We've also begun trying to connect people within professions. We had a successful health ministry mass and reception. We're going to be looking for doing something as well for continuing formation for our healthcare ministers, both students, retired, and active. And we're going to be looking to be doing something as well in the area of business, economics, and public policy. There's more attention and more volunteers bringing the Holy Eucharist home to our homebound parishioners, either in care facilities or at homes or in senior residences. The Newman Choir is in a good process of rebuilding after the COVID hiatus. They are preparing for a festival of lessons and carols to be held on Sunday, December 18th at 2 p.m. Our children's faith formation and child youth ministry were in a bit of a transition year in the absence of a pastoral associate. We've managed to hold the program together, and now I and the staff are in the process of planning for next year. We just completed this past week a synodal style listening to parents and what their concerns are after polling them. And all of that information is incredibly useful to us in our planning and our visioning for what we want for a children's faith formation program. Our campus ministry goes extremely well. Our new associate director, Sarah Coelho, and her assistant, Grace Hoffman, have done a fine job this year. The student community is in really very, very fine shape. We had a successful awakening retreat. You've seen the pictures in the annual fund. We're noticing there's somewhat of a larger attendance among students at weekend daily mass, as well as confessions and holy hour. So our spiritual development of our students goes in apace. We are also increasing collaboration with St. Paul Outreach, and I and a group of students are planning to attend the national conference of St. Paul Outreach in Orlando in early January. Deacon Kevin continues successful collaboration for our young adults / grad students with area parishes. As a whole, we are continuing to try to develop a sense of discipleship by providing opportunities for growing in prayer, for attitudes of openness to personal, spiritual, intellectual growth, deeper connections to community, heartfelt generosity, and service in solidarity. And as we look at the whole question of discipleship, an important point comes more and more to the fore to me, that Newman does need to be a little bit more realistic about its expectations. If we don't count the students, we really are a very small faith community. And our most active parishioners outside of the students are aging, and many of them, while deeply committed to Newman, also have professional commitments, family commitments, and interests. So there's a lot going on outside of Newman, and it's sometimes hard to sustain things within Newman. Passing on to the material. Again, I would say our material situation is rather good. We keep expenses well contained and generally under budget, except for unanticipated maintenance and repairs, because you could never really budget for those. I'd like to personally single out Karen Illy and the Renewman Squad, which is extremely helpful in keeping basic maintenance costs quite low because they are donated labor and oftentimes even donated material. We are exploring the feasibility of addressing accessibility issues here in the activity center. As you might be aware, there is no handicapped accessible bathroom in the building, and the men's room is located on the second floor, which makes accessibility for males even more problematic. In addition, the conference center is a 1960s pit, which means that also makes accessibility somewhat problematic. There are no rails. We're looking at how to work on that, as well as the window issue and the whole parking lot entranceway. This may very well be beyond our financial means, but we're doing due diligence to lay out kind of architectural possibilities of what that might look like. Moving on to finances. There are some positive financial trends. Offertory is increasing, and this is the first time in 4 years that Newman's offertory has been increasing. So that's an extremely good sign. Restricted and unrestricted development gifts, income is up as well. And this year's first quarter finances, as I reported to you in the last telecom, is better than last year's first quarter finances, although we're still in deficit trending. And again, now we come to the worrying trends, which is this is now the second year that we've operated at deficit spending. And increasingly, Newman's operating budget is dependent upon windfalls like bequests. And as you well know, you really cannot budget for bequests. That's the worrying trends. Kind of to go out to 40,000 feet to try to get a little bit of a bigger picture. We are moving away from an older and I think outdated model of church fundraising that is essentially fee for service. We've basically eliminated passing the collection basket. We've eliminated campus ministry fees, although we have been putting some registration fees to make sure that commitment to events is going to occur. And I'd eventually like to eliminate catechesis fees. I just simply can't afford to do it at the moment. We're also moving towards, I think, a more mature adult discipleship model of giving, in which people make a pledge mentally or truly and give in a sustained, recurring, planned kind of way, often online. And again, the spiritual benefit of this is tremendous, because by setting aside an offering or a gift to God from your finances, you turn that into a real act of worship. And you're also concretely putting God first in your regular budget, instead of giving God whatever is left over at the end of the week. There's a great spiritual value, I think, in doing that. The second great spiritual value that comes from it is, as a result of the pandemic, many of us became much more aware of our need for community support when we didn't have it around us. And if you give regularly to Newman, you are providing dependable support to a local Christian community whose values and mission you share. And even if you only attend sporadically for any number of good and valid reasons, your recurring and sustaining giving makes sure that the doors are open, the lights are on, and the heating is working when you do have a chance to commit. Regarding our material issues, action steps that we're looking for in the future. Increasingly, Newman's small community is finding it difficult to manage its own finances, plus disproportionately fund the campus ministry, plus service a mortgage on a building that is primarily used again by campus ministry. Now, thanks to savings and your generosity, we've been able to manage it, and we will be able to manage it for the near future. But I do want to stress that I, the parish staff, the parish pastoral council, the finance council, and the diocese are working to address kind of the long-term financial implications of this. I think that's an important piece for Newman's long-term viability, that we address this issue now before it gets critical, and then we're in emergency room kind of thinking. One of the ways in which we're doing this is TREAS is working towards development efforts that are targeting increasingly donors outside the parish. And that would be campus ministry alumni, parents of current students, parents of alumni, friends and people who support Newman generally. This is a long-term strategy to begin to broaden our donor base and shift some of the burden off of Newman's parishioners' shoulders onto others. That's a long-term strategy, and we hope that it will bear fruit in the long run. In the meantime, I just want to personally thank you for all of your generosity and all of your support. I personally am very, very happy and thankful to be here. I wish I didn't have all of the administrative worries that I have. But as far as a community and people, you are a joy to be with, and a joy to minister with, and a joy to grow in discipleship with. And that in itself is the greatest blessing. So as we are on the cusp of Thanksgiving, I invite you to give thanks for all of your many blessings to God, and especially to give thanks for the blessing of this faith community, which does so much for all of us and gives glory to God in our little corner of Chapel Hill. God bless, take care, and happy holidays.